Hello, Steve Kendall, Secure Pacific Real Estate, Richmond, California. Expanding on my belief that life is amazing and yet few people recognize this fact, here are 15 reasons why you should be grateful today. In the 1800s, the U.S. life expectancy at birth was 39 years. In 1900, it was 49 years. 1950, it was 68 years, and today it's 79 years. The average newborn today can expect to live an entire generation longer than his great-grandparents could. 2, according to a 1920 census, 85% of men over 14 were in the labor force. Work was dangerous, with a fatality rate of 61 deaths per 100,000 workers, which made it about 30 times more dangerous than it is today. Number 3, travel times certainly have changed. In 1857, if you traveled from New York to the Northwest, it took 5 to 6 weeks to get there by rail. Today, you can sit in a chair at 30,000 feet in the air, watch a YouTube video on high-speed internet while sipping a cappuccino, and make that same trip in about 5 hours. Number 4, in 1949, Popular Mechanics magazine made a bold prediction that someday a computer would weigh less than 1 ton. I'm writing these words on my iPad that weighs less than 1 pound. Number 5, in 1952, 38,000 people contracted polio in America alone, according to the Centers for Disease Control. In 2017, there were 22 reported cases of polio in the entire world. 6, do you remember when you had to unfold a map to find directions on where to go? Today, Google Maps is free. If you think about this for a minute, it's really astounding. It's probably the single most useful piece of software ever invented, and it's free for anyone to use. 7, owning a home in 1920 was a rarity. Even though home prices were much cheaper, mortgages typically required a down payment of about 50%. The average household was more than 4 people, a figure that has fallen with each passing decade and now sits at just about 2.5%. Loneliness was a financial impossibility back then because few could afford to live alone. 8, according to the Census Bureau, only 1 in 10 American homes had air conditioning in 1960. In 1973, that figure rose to 49%, and today it's 89%. Now, the 11% that don't have it are mostly in cold climates. The simple improvements like these have changed our lives in immeasurable ways. 9, almost no homes had a refrigerator in 1900, according to Frederick Lewis Allen's The Big Change, let alone a car. Today, you can buy a car with a refrigerator in it. 10, in 1900, 2% of American homes had electricity. J.P. Morgan was one of the first to install electricity in his home, and it required a private power plant on his property. Even by 1950, close to 30% of American homes did not have electricity. And it wasn't until 1970s that virtually all homes were powered. Today, you can control your lighting, your security system, your surround sound system, your heating system, and landscape watering systems all from your cell phone. Number 11, in 1915, the typical American spent about 1/3 of their income on food. They ate equivalent amounts of chicken and lard, and bringing lunch to work was a logistical challenge because there was no such thing as plastic bags to keep foods fresh. And relative to wages, the price of food has declined more than 90% since the 19th century, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And today, we have an entire television network devoted just to food preparation. 12, as recently as 1950, nearly 40% of American homes didn't have a telephone. And today, there are more than 500 million internet connected devices in America, or enough for 5.7 per household. 13, half of all families lived on farms in 1915, which meant work was typically a walk away. Many city dwellers also live close enough to factories where they could walk, ride a streetcar, or a horse to work. Now, an interesting anecdote from that time relates to the origin of the Los Angeles Dodgers name. The Brooklyn Grays baseball team, nicknamed the Brooklyn Trolley Dodgers in 1895, and later the Brooklyn Dodgers, was so named in a tribute to their fans who had to avoid a maze of speeding trolley cars just to get to the game. 14. According to the Census Bureau, there were 2 million cars on the road in 1915, or about 1 for every 50 people. Back then, there were very few roads, hardly any repair shops or fuel stations. Today, there are more than 255 million registered vehicles in the United States, and it seems to me like most of them are in California. And finally, number 15. Only 4% of humans get to call America home. And you're probably one of them. Now, is it perfect here? Of course not. But I'd say that we have it pretty good here in comparison to the way things are in some other countries. Now, I've learned that there's a responsibility that comes with the privileges we've so often taken for granted. When I was younger, I didn't understand gratitude. Did go through a period of my life where everything important was taken away from me. It was only then that I learned how good I had it. Most of us have so much to be grateful for, and this video is meant to remind you of that fact. I'm going to wrap this up with a favorite quote of mine by William Arthur Ward. Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.